Guys, welcome back to the channel. Back to Jess's Timber Revival. Today we're going to be turning these 5 logs into usable 2x4s like this here. As you can see, it is pretty snowy out here. We're going to be using, but I have to do it on this day because all the other days this week is high of -25 here in Alberta. So I'm just gonna use wedges and hatchet and a mallet, as you've seen, and I probably won't go too deeply how I do it. I'm just gonna split the log in half with the wedges and hatchet, then immediately go and do the rest of it on the table saw and jointer. But yeah, if you want to do it, look at it in more deep detail, go to my other video, turning a log and how to turn a log into lumber using only hand tools. That one will go more deeply. But yeah, most of these logs are about 6 inches, so hopefully we will get what we want, 2x4s. So yeah. Okay guys, so this here is all the split wood that I did. I think there was 6 logs, so there should be 12 pieces here. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run them on the jointer here and just flatten the side, because some of them got a little bit twisty on me because of the knots. We're using spruce here, but yeah. And I know some of you guys might be asking, why don't I just make like a table saw jig, like for for making lumber, like for this small log. But my table saw, although it has a lot of power, more than most you make nowadays, like it's an old beaver. It only can have an 8-inch blade on it. So, and its max height is 2.5 inches. So, by making like one of those, here, I'll bring it to you guys quick. As you can see, I already tried to make one of these things here. A crate, put the log in here, screw it in, and just let this run. But you have to have 1 inch on each side extra than your log too. And like, so my thing can only handle 5 inches, so I'm not gonna mill up a 3-inch log in the inside for lumber like that. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, so this way works a bit better, and that's why I'm doing it this way. Okay guys, so I got all of these flattened here. They aren't perfect, like there are some areas, but we'll leave that to the end because we still gotta trim the sides off and stuff like that. But right now I got it set to 5 inches. I'm just gonna use the bark edge for these because they are decently straight. Just to trim off as a reference on the guide here to trim off that one edge. But then after I'm trim off that edge, I'm gonna joint that edge on the jointer quick, just to make that perfectly square. Then we'll do the next part. But right now, I'm just gonna rip off one edge on the table saw. Okay, now that we have our sides all jointed and we have 2 sides square, I'm gonna go and do the last rounded edge, and then after that I'm gonna bring it down to 2 inches and take off this bark, doing 2 passes, like flipping the log over to take off the bark rounded edge. And we should have our 2x4. So right now it's set to 4 inches now. Then I'll run it through, then I'll do it to 2 inches, and then get the bark edge. It'll tough to watch. Okay, now we got the 3 sides of the 4 done. But I should mention that for this 4th cut here, which will actually take the rounded off part off, you'll want to have the blade set at 2 1/4 inches wide from the fence, because that extra 1/4 inch later will come in. Because remember how we didn't quite, all you needed to do was get it flat? That extra 1/4 inch will just take off that little like embellishments that we didn't quite get to like fully flat on the joints. So just like some open pockets and stuff like that. Okay, now that we got them actually looking like 2x4s, now it's time to take out this by bringing it in another 1/4 inch, and we're just gonna run that side through and get all the embellishments out. I know like these 2x4s do have a decent amount of bark on them, but they're good for just using around the house or around the yard. If you want to use them like for rough lumber, like they're not terrible. Like this one here is pretty good. Maybe if you guys have a bigger table saw, you can do bigger chunks of wood and stuff too. But I know 2 of the I have 4 other halves that weren't able to make 2x4s that I'm planning on making 2x3s out of. But I also have 2 bigger halves that weren't able to fit on the jointer, so I'll have to do something different, a little bit different. Like I'll probably just use the froe and just pop off some of the sides, and then it will be able to fit on the jointer. But those will make nice 2x4s, but I just wasn't able to get to them today because they take a little bit more work, but we'll get to sawing these right now. Okay guys, there you have it. I sawed these, I think it was 5 logs, plus, well, yeah, 5, I had 6 logs, but this one here just was too big for the jointer, so I'll have to save it for another day and maybe do something else with it. But this will make two more 2x4s, so. But what we did today, out of the 5 logs, we were able to get 4 1x3s. Pretty nice here. And 6 2x4s. But now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them up to dry. And let them dry out for like 4 months probably, because wet wood, they're still pretty wet. Even though these trees fell down at my place, like I didn't cut them down fresh. But yeah, I hope this encourages you to make your own lumber if you got like just little trees around. But yeah. Yeah, that will wrap it up probably for the video here. And remember, and you could have made these into 1x4s if whatever you needed. Or if you have a bit smaller logs and you just want to make 2x3s, like if I would have made 2x3s out of these, there would have been no bark. Like a lot of these, there's just a little bit of rounded bark on the edge, like just like the last, I don't know, like 1/4 of an inch on each side. But if you didn't want that, you could just make them into 2x3s and make them perfectly square. But yeah, I'll wrap it up, and thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing.